The conclusion of the Battle of the Obsidian Tower did not go in the favor of the soldiers of Aeon. Struggle after struggle after struggle. There's too much to overcome, too much to fight, too many directions in which the attention of those with power in the city were split. And the city falls. But not before Margo manages to rudely slam the door on the faces of an invading armada, legion of flaming monsters attempting to encroach upon your world through the portal. Making a vital mistake of not believing in herself to be able to be capable of doing it. Getting a little bit of last-minute help from Hasport, who bequeathed her a new spell. Not before unlocking the seal on lock. Unwilling to give herself over completely, she had Hasport use Disintegrate on her as soon as the portal was closed. With tears running down his beard and trunk, he complied. Understanding unreasonable force and destruction when he sees it. The rest of you and the rest of the soldiers in the city flee. You find yourselves aboard the desperate Gale, the beloved ship that Wardan has talked about fondly many times. And it is not with a warm welcome that you see it for the first time. A very large construction influenced between insectoid maneuverability and a large carrier cargo ship with some battle capabilities to it. You find yourselves one member short on the ship, surrounded by many, many refugees. It's a couple of... With this much weight, Wardan has to take it a little bit slow. On the outskirts of Aurora's Rest, he takes the wounded, women, children, and elderly, prioritizing those who would not be able to defend themselves or travel under their own power. I believe we said around 35 other people are on the ship with you, and the quarters are close. The cockpit area is closed off. One of the few areas that is not open to those currently on the ship, except for you. You have a bit of travel time to yourselves.
Welcome aboard the Desperate Gale. This is my ship. You can, do what you need to do to get quite comfortable. But there are two things you must know while you are on this ship. First off, the upstairs area, there is a larger room right next to all of the staircase leading up. That is my room. Do not go in my room. If anyone goes in my room, please immediately report them to me. That room is off limits. That's where I do the tinkering of my guns, sleeping, reading, drinking tea, and anything else I need to do, and sometimes I just need to be away from people. I'm sure you understand. Second rule is, please do not touch anything if you do not know how it works. For instance, it is very helpful if you shovel fuel into the engines, but if you don't know how to properly shovel the fuel, and you spill it all over my ship, then I'm going to be very unhappy. You might have seen as we were walking in here that there's a lot of dark marks from various times that fuel has been dropped. This was due to crewmen that I've hired in the past that are not very good at shoveling fuel. There's a specific way you need to do it. So I have to get on my hands and knees at some point in my life and scrub the floors down again. So if you don't know how things work, don't touch it. But I am more than happy to teach you how to make things work, to teach you how to properly use items. Just don't do it without my permission. Those are the two rules. Help yourself to the food, sleep wherever you want as long as it's not my room, and, well, okay, third rule, don't steal any of the cargo, but I feel like that one's a given. All good?
Just to clarify, is this the speech you give to everybody on the ship, or just your two remaining companions?
I was thinking I only gave that to the companions, and I feel like that was something Wardan would do. So, oops.
Okay.
I feel like this is like largely directed towards Yaslin. Like, do not touch anything you don't know how to operate.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some like, all right, don't if you're gonna go mope, don't mope in my room, and don't blow anything up because you will blow it up.
Have vision on this map. I don't know if anybody else can see anything.
I can
Wow.
see.
It's because maybe you don't have a token, I think, probably.
You are also muted, Morgan.
Sorry about the night.
I was muted for some ums and ahs and head scratching. That's it. There we go. Okay, and for visual reference for everybody one more time. That is the Desperate Gale. Okay. I thought I fixed the lighting.
So Warden's room is the top part up here?
Oh, I see now.
There we go.
I think it just is it flashing on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the wrong thing checkboxed.
Yes, that top room.
Okay.
It's also the biggest room.
I would hope. It's your airship.
Of course, of course! One would expect nothing less.
Where we're standing, what can we see outside? I'd imagine there's a decent amount of windows around us.
Yes. So yes, there are like little points of windowage, and especially you guys being up in the cockpit with Warden, you have about a 320-degree view of this space around you. You see, by the time you leave Aurora's Rest, get across the bridge, get back down to Final Fletch. The air is dark and murky. It's been pure darkness for about 3 days at this point. And it's just because of the amount of soot and ash and smoke in the air. It has nighted everything for a few hundred miles. There's a real possibility, as a Utahn, during fire season, we get all of California's smoke and we do not see the sun for a while. It's a thing.
California, thank you for taking our smoke.
Boo. So nothing in the night sky. Time starts to blur together because there's no day-night cycle. And you know what times you're supposed to sleep, but your circadian rhythm is kind of shot. And that's just because of the sky. Not to mention the loss and the sorrow and the trauma and the battle. You fall asleep probably at some point, and you wake up at some other point. Without checking a device, it's very hard to tell how long you were asleep. But currently, you see, as you leave Final Fletch, you see endless amounts of mountain. Final Fletch, Aurora's Rest was very cold, very heavily snow-covered. And leading down further into the mountains, you reach Final Fletch, which is definitely still snow-covered. But less so. Like, seasonally, that snow would melt and become a runoff. And most of that snow is tinged with black soot as well. You fly further down and you just see crags and mountains near endlessly into the distance. With the speed that you have to travel with a full payload of people. It's mostly just mountains. An occasional lake. An occasional town. Or some sort of lighting structure. Give me a perception check for anybody that is looking.
Okay. Physical dice it is. Got it.
24.
I think Dro's a little stressed right now.
I think Yaslin has like found herself. Yaslin's found herself a spot and she's like dozing. She's not looking, she's sleeping.
Muted.
Already got it. Dro, you're looking. But you're not seeing. Margo's final words. Randar's near final words. The loss of what Aurora's Rest means to you from your past. You've just received an exponential ricochet of your pain as the city dies and one of your closest friends dies to save it from what would be a worse fate. You're not here right now. You are broken. Wardan, you see your instruments, you see your darling. You know where you're going. It's not exactly what you would call a safe haven, but you are slim for pickings. Warden, give me a history check.
18.
18, okay. So Warden, you know this. You've been there before. Allegory is a high-tech town that is, if there was like a power ladder of forces on Aeon, Allegory would not necessarily be on it. But that's because of a subtlety. They have a way of keeping to themselves. You've done a few jobs from there. You know it's got quite a bit of high tech. Some of the parts in your ship are probably from there. I'll shoot you a message for kind of how the city functions.
I'm going to turn to Dro, and I'll say, we need to talk a little bit. Probably not while Yaslin is sleeping. I think we're going to need to discuss what happened back there. But, can I ask you to do something for me?
Dro is staring out at the darkness. Honestly, when you were explaining the rules, you probably caught every other word. Something about don't go into the top floor, something about fuel. But when you say what happened back there, I think it'd be visible to you that you would notice he would then full attention to you, not face you, still staring out. Yeah.
Now that we're en route, I need to go ensure that the ship and the survivors are doing all right. So, would you mind taking the captain's chair and holding the steering wheel? Do not allow it to move in any direction. Just go straight. From here, all we need to do is just go straight.
This is when Dro probably turns and looks at you. Do you want me to go check on them?
Well, do you know what needs to be done?
It's not the first I've had to tend to a wound. And if Brandar is there, knowing him and his stubborn ass, he's probably doing the same.
I suppose that's fair. Well, then if you would like to, you are more than welcome to, and I will stay at the helm. But I need you to find a person or a couple people who are capable enough to be able to keep an eye on the food supply and on the storage to ensure that nobody is looting or taking any additional food. Because while we have plenty of it, that can go out very fast when there's 35 people on my ship. That's a lot more than I like to carry.
Yeah, I can do that.
Very well, thank you. And he will return to staring out the window and holding the wheel straight.
Dro's gonna kind of take one more look out into the darkness, and I think this is the first time Dro has ever felt fear of the dark. And it's not like a typical fear, it's more he's horrified knowing what happened. And he's gonna slowly make his way down. As he passes, he'll stop and look over at Yaslin and ensure she's okay.
Yaslin, where are you at?
Yaslin has found herself a chair and has passed the fuck out. She's been running on pretty much sheer willpower for the past, like, 48 hours plus. And so she just looks exhausted and like she's been through the ringer.
Start making my way out. Maybe. There it goes. And look for Randar first.
Yaslin, what's the last set of thoughts that go through your mind before you embrace sleep?
Probably, even through all this exhaustion, she's like, how can we fix this?
Okay. And I imagine the thought of that is just immense. It's like it's like having a loaf of bread and looking at a tidal wave and saying, how can we fix this? There's no obvious solution.
Mm-hmm.
As you mull it over a couple of times, there's nowhere to go and it just drains you. And Dro, you head out into the back.
Going to look for Randar, but also take this time to get familiar with the ship. Looking for where the food is in the cargo, and while wandering around, also looking for individuals that Wardan asked for that look like they could be trusted and capable of keeping an eye on the food and cargo so there's no theft.
Okay. Randor is easy enough to find. He is in the back. He's got just about all of the survivors on the ship with him. They're all huddled around in kind of a circle, and he's speaking to them, and you come into what you imagine was a very short speech. There's nothing to be done. Not at this time. Frankly, the best thing that any of us can do is to get some rest. I know that feels like nothing. I know those words feel like poison in an open wound. But it's the truth. Just rest. That's all you have right now. That's all any of us have. We'll collect ourselves soon enough and figure out how to take a step forward. After all that we've lost, and we have lost much, we've lost it together. Now rest. And people go about milling around and sleeping and that simple permission to stop. There's a few that just slump down immediately and they are just gone. Like, there's plenty that are crying, plenty that are wounded and hurting. Dro, give me a perception check.
18.
18. You see a couple of people who are less wounded and look a little bit more authoritarian or like authoritative, going around and helping out, but people know Randar. He's a symbol. So they looked to him first. You see probably about, of the 35, maybe 11 of them are children, maybe teenage, early teenage and under, that have been collected. One of those is a mid-teenage girl holding the body of a younger teenage girl. And the body's not moving, and it's pale. You see mothers trying to console their children. You see a couple of people at least have basic medical abilities. One of them seems to be some sort of priest, like a healer. You recognize the robes of not the Temple of Gentle Light, but the temple that Freya worked at. The one that garnered the goddess of nature. And you see her doing basic medical attention and triaging. And you see her frustratingly go over to a man who is missing part of his foot, about mid-shin down. And it is bleeding onto the floorboards, mixing in with some of the black soot that Wardan mentioned about improperly shoveled fuel. And she tries to put some healing into it. And she coughs, and there's a little bit of blood. She wipes it off and wipes it on her robes. She doesn't even care. It's one speck of blood amongst dozens. Hers, others, who knows. So instead she tears off a strap of like a part of her sleeve and begins to create a tourniquet for this man's leg instead. You see a young pink-haired girl sitting in the corner kind of by herself, shell-shocked, eyes darting frantically all around, clutching a sword where the hilt is covered in blood. And you see a family of four, a mother, father, and two children, all sobbing hysterically. And just looking at them for a moment, you understand that the family is incomplete. It is like coming back here is like walking through soup. The emotions of them all are unrelenting.
Um, I think seeing this is a part of Dro that wants to rush in and comfort and help, but another part that's leaving him stuck to the floorboards because he feels this is because of him. And I think when he finally is able to walk, he doesn't go forward and he backs up out of sight, almost having a panic attack. Because he doesn't know what to do. And then I think
You feel a hand on your shoulder, hard as iron with thick, sturdy fingers. I wasn't just talking to them, boy. Breathe. You want to do something about all of this. The very first step is to breathe. Everything else is impossible without it.
this is my fault.
Your fault that someone planned an invasion of another country. Did you instruct them to do so? Did you incentivize them? Did you plan with them? Did you execute the orders that they followed?
No, but I was given this power to protect.
But nothing. How many lives did you save? How far did you push the enemy and force their hand to make them adjust what they were doing? You are not responsible for the actions of others. You are responsible for yourself. And as shitty as that may seem, that is the extent of any of our power.
Dro's gonna kind of look past Rendar at the people again. This time feeling more comfort or ease, and letting what Rendar said soak in. And then I think he would finally notice what's been in his hand this entire time is Margo's Bloodwell. I couldn't protect her. He's just gonna stare at that for a while.
think you have a misconception, boy. She was protecting you. Do not sully that.
Who's gonna look in Mirandar's eyes? And you almost joined her.
I almost.
I don't know what I would do if you, Yaz, the Warden, any others ended up the same way as Margo. I was told that this power, the previous wielder, had great sacrifices. I don't know if I can live up to that. I'm just now moving on from the past and finding a family and watching one die, one walk the bridge to death, and the other, as stubborn as she is on dying, I think that's the closest I've ever seen her come to it. How much more do I have to sacrifice? And he's just gonna kind of look around the room when he says sacrifice. Warden asked me to do a favor, and I may need your help. He says there's some food and cargo on this ship, and even though there are injured here, he wants to ensure that there isn't any funny business happening, theft or anything like that. And he's asked me to find a few individuals who could go on guard duty or a routine and just kind of monitor that.
Jilu and I are used to working with rations in small amounts, but need to go to many. I mean, references the cleric or the priest from the other church. I believe we can manage.
I figured I'll help out where I'm needed. He also mentioned some things to note on the ship. Something about not going up to the top floor. And something about the fuel. I guess make sure no one's messing with the fuel. He kind of looks over at it and then sees the marks on the ground and kind of pieces together what Warden was talking about. So I would say just as we're wandering around to ensure that we follow those rules. And you also need to get some rest too. Don't push yourself. I think I will rejoin you. There is something I want to take care of first. A little bit of processing all of this. and taking into consideration what I have still.
I think you'll have plenty of time to do that, whether or not you want to. Go rest, boy. I'll do the same. I don't think anyone's got the spirit to cause any trouble today.
Yeah. And start to make way back up to Yaslin and Wardan, but stop. Thanks, Dad. And then I'll just keep walking.
You're welcome, son.
Make my way in, trying not to disturb Wardan, and sit up against the chair that Yaslin is sitting in. And first, making sure she is dead asleep.
And not just dead.
Yes.
If she's not breathing, have to do the little mirror test.
Take the blade and just hold it up to her nose. And pull out Margo's notebook. And just kind of stare at the two sides, recalling what she had told. I don't know if it was all of us or if it was Dro.
It was just you.
Okay. What each side is, and turning to the side that contacts her tribe. And begins to write to it. It takes a while because he gets choked up on some stuff. Occasional glances in certain directions. And Morgan, it's what I sent you is what I write. And then I think once he's done writing, he'll put the notebook away and look up towards Yaslin and very quietly say, "We'll get her back." And I think scared to close his eyes, fearing he's gonna see the last moments of Margo, but eventually, I think after fighting it, start to doze off.
You eventually goes off and find sleep that is only racked with nightmares, but you cannot wake. Repeatedly seeing the beam of green and blue energy, the flames the shadows. There is nothing safe this time about being unconscious. But your body demands it. You awake the next day, or whatever you assume to be the next day. And Wardan, how's your insomnia while piloting?
Insomnia while piloting. Honestly, it's not that bad. I assume that I just have to go straight, so honestly, at some point, you could probably just lock the wheel, leave, go find Randar or somebody else to just sit there and make sure that the wheel doesn't go in any other direction, and then head up to his room.
Okay. Yeah, it's not exactly a straight line, but Gale does have a certain amount of autopilot for places that you have been before, and you can kind of lock in.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too.
And you're able to get the father of the Randar is fully asleep, and he looks like he is still severely wounded. He's not easy to get up, but the father, it seems to have lost a child. Physically, he's mostly okay, and just as he wants to do something, anything, so he's interested in helping. And you've got some time up to your room. What do you spend it like?
Well, as I pass through, I'm just gonna keep an eye on everybody. Take a look around as I'm seeing people. I assume it's a lot of what Dro saw earlier. But I'm also gonna just keep an eye and make sure that nobody's not doing anything that they shouldn't be doing. Such as, shoving their hands in the furnace or taking all my books off the shelf over here and just ripping them up for some reason. So I'm not afraid to shoot people.
Right. Everybody seems like they're too exhausted.
I figured.
Yeah.
So as I get into my room, is there anybody else in here? I don't mind if people are in the upstairs on my other room that's over here, but just my personal room.
Okay. Nobody's there. There are a couple of people that have found kind of a couple of nooks up the stairs, and I imagine you keep your room locked and nobody tried to unlock it. And if the other rooms were unlocked, you've got people passed out anywhere they can be. Some people are hiding in just in a corner, or somebody is underneath this desk just as a place to feel like they have a small location where they have some control.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's bothered your space.
Good. I'm gonna make my way over to my table, and however long we're resting, is that a full long rest that we're gonna do? A short rest?
Essentially, yeah. It's the type of fight where, I mean, you weren't terribly injured, but you were hit hard. But like, this is the sort of thing it takes days to feel decent again, even if there was magic to be had to help the process.
Then I'm gonna go ahead and spend my 8 hours doing just simple things, such as sleeping in bed, making my way to and from the captain's cabin, just checking in on people, not really walking up to anyone and asking how they're doing, but just watching here and there, looking at the different people, especially the people who die over the course of the rest, because dead bodies are a problem in big groups. But also it's very saddening to see so many people come onto my ship and then just... This is not the reason that I want to use my ship. And Wardan's definitely feeling that, but he also recognizes that everyone else is down in the dumps, and now is the time to be the champion and attempt to keep the positivity alight if anyone approaches him to talk to him. But the main thing I want to be doing over the course of this time is just taking a look at the gun and just trying to see if I can figure out why it unlocked or how it unlocked, or really anything additional about the gun that I can figure out, and then, you know, doing everything else in between. Try to keep it very chill.
Okay, give me a roll with your Tinkerer's tools.
Tinkerer's tools. I have Carpenter's tools. I don't think I have Tinkerer's tools.
I think we talked about this last time, and like I gifted them to you because it didn't make sense for you to not have them.
Woof.
That-
I survive.
Okay. You're mostly in awe that it happened at all. And you look for it, and it's a mystery. All you see is the same two guns you've connected over and over and over before, and you don't see anything new. Maybe it's because you're not rested, maybe it's because of something else, but nothing seems different about them.
To be expected. All right, then. Yeah, he'll just keep doing that over the course of time, going, checking, walking around, sleeping.
Okay. All right. Everybody does get a long rest at some point. What do you... And then you can convene with the three of you and anybody else that you would like to have with you in the cockpit or the meeting room or somewhere else. Kind of what's the next step and what's the next move for you guys?
So naturally, I think that we probably invite... Road 2024 rules takes a long rest.
Oh.
What a great character name. I never knew that was your last name. I feel like probably inviting Randar would be a good idea, but ultimately I think it really only needs to be the people who know about why that happened. But I'm open to other suggestions on who to invite.
And-
Just kind of chilling. Honestly dreading this conversation, but knows it needs to be had.
Oh my god.
143 hit points. Hot damn.
Yes!
Wow.
Holy you're down to what, 1 level of exhaustion now?
I'm down to 1 level of exhaustion. It feels so fucking good.
I don't know. Honestly, like, there's a part of me that wants to give everybody exhaustion after what just happened. But I gotta say, like, while you guys are on the ship, like, you do start with a shit ton of exhaustion, and then by the time you guys are off the ship, all the exhaustion is kind of handled, and you're still in like recovery mode.
I would cry. I have so much exhaustion already on her. She's been exhausted for forever.
Right?
I think if Warden mentions Randar in this conversation, I think Dro would go and look for him and take this opportunity to just study the people that are on this ship, ensuring there's no theft going on now that people have slept a little bit, and doing what Warden asked of him and taking this an opportunity to do that. He goes and finds Randar to bring him back.
Okay, Randar is easy enough to find, and you snag him.
Well, I think this will most likely be the most private room we can get to as we discuss. I normally would hold this in the meeting room because it's a little bit nicer over there. The chairs are a little bit more comfortable, but I'm pretty sure I saw 2 people sleeping on the table and 1 person in one of the chairs, so... Well, I want to say thank you for joining me. I don't normally actually hold meetings, despite having a meeting room. Most employees do not stay long enough to warrant a meeting, besides you're fired. So, I believe I should start off by saying, I hope you have all gotten at least a relatively decent enough rest. We are going to have a difficult conversation, and it'll probably tire you out a little bit more, but we still have some time before we get to our destination, so hopefully that is enough time to sit on your thoughts for a while and bring up any other topics that need to be brought up beforehand. First off, I would like to start by saying I don't think that we have to worry about prison anymore. It seems that the court case is clear-cut. You are quite innocent, and even if you weren't, I'm pretty sure you would have received a pardon from the help that we brought to the people of Aurora's Rest as we traveled through the streets alone, and of course with the closing of the portal.
Kind of want to say that, but Dro wouldn't. Never mind.
To be different from your character and player.
A snarky comment, but Dro would say it, just not at this moment.
Yes, Lynn, you took quite a bit of damage in that fight, and well, just over the past week. How are you feeling right now?
You know, honestly, kind of like shit. But I think, things are hopefully taking a turn for the better. I think I would like to get into contact with my family at some point. They might be able to help.
Were the people who ran into the fight with the cat eaters, were they a part of your family, or were those just random people?
They are totally like me. Not necessarily related by blood, but they are my people.
I thought one of the guys mentioned something. He was a very competitive individual. I believe that those two people are currently following right behind us. If you look out the rear view, well,
Are
you
they?
can't see the rear view mirror right now, but if you were to walk up to the captain's chair and look out the rear view mirror, you would see that there's a ship trailing us, and I'm pretty sure I saw them going into the ship.
Looks in behind them. Well, fuck. It may or may not mean I am in more trouble than I thought I initially was.
What trouble?
I contacted them a while ago. My grandfather a while ago. He said he was going to bring help. For me, more than for you guys. In a sense, at the time things were a little tense. It was insurance. Really.
Is
In
this-
case things went south on my end.
Is that
Of
about-
course! Yeah.
When you say insurance, you meant help, right?
The idea being, if I lost control, they would handle it.
Insight check on if I can tell handling it being Yazin's way of killing it. Oh boy, if I'm hiding this. 24.
You're pretty certain that is the term she's using a different word, but you're pretty sure that's what she means.
That's what I thought. We need to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, there's technically new problems, I think, that I have.
Would you love to elaborate?
Not particularly. Just that, you know, the creature that had bound to my chimera is not there anymore, and it might have done more damage than I thought initially.
So what I'm hearing is you need to go see your family.
They would know more on how to fix this than anyone else.
And where is your family?
Where are we?
East.
Give me a history check.
Me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep.
This checks out really well. She's
Yeah.
in the air right now. She doesn't know where she is.
Jasmine's like, I don't know, south.
South, I think. in a forest somewhere.
She's from the Tawny Forest. If that helps any.
Yes, that does help.
Wardan, give me a history check. I think we gave you essentially permanent advantage on your piloting checks because you have expertise with your pilot.
Yes, and also because I got a
my
nat
God.
20. I was gonna say also because my ranger, my preferred terrain is, in the air.
Yeah, it is sky. It's sky navigation. Okay, yeah, you know exactly where the Tawny Forest is. Which is
Very southeast, I think.
which is rare.
Oh,
Most people don't know it. You've been in the few years that you've been on your ship on your like kind of piloting alone, you've done a lot. And you've crossed paths with the Tawny once, and you're one of the few that knows its precise location.
Well, that does help. I know where that is.
you did.
All right. Yes. I've gotten to see a lot of the world in my years of flight. I believe from the destination that we're going to, it'd probably be southeast-ish. I'll know it when I see it, and when there's not giant smoke clouds everywhere.
Ah, okay.
How long do you think it would take from where we're going if we were to leave there?
Well, part of the issue is fuel. You see, since we're going slower with 35 people on the ship, that means that we're burning more fuel to keep us in the air. Meaning that when we do land in Allegory, we're going to have to go purchase more fuel, most likely, to be able to make the journey to the Tolney Forest, which would... a day, 2 days, if we're able to off-board 30-something people.
With your natural 20, basically, I will, now that we have an airship, actively as an active character in the campaign, I will be setting up a more detailed map. The map that I've shown you guys so far is what's considered North Bordea, very similar to North America, South America. They are technically one connected landmass. And like, you've got kind of this shape up here that's almost like a C shape, ended in Aurora's Rest, and then the Ribble Mountains were kind of like in the bottom corner before like the claw goes up and points to one of the locations you guys chose not to go to with Dire. Then it kind of pincers down and does another big hook, and there's a long, skinny ocean, like a strait, a little bit like the Mediterranean Sea. And hooking around that becomes South Bordea. The Tawny Forest is a large chunk of the landmass before that hook becomes South Bordea. So you're essentially going from the northern tip of one of the largest continents on the planet to the southern tip of that continent, and then there is more connected landmass after that, but it is considered a separate continent.
Maybe a little bit longer than a day or two.
Yeah.
Oh.
So with that, it's about a 4 days travel, based on like with Warden's natural 20. It's about 4 days travel, and instead, which we won't roleplay. We'll skip a bunch of that.
Yeah, then that I would have said 4 days then over 1 to 2.
Dro under his breath. Holy shit.
I mean, try walking it. It's
That's fair. Okay, well, here's my vote. We go figure out what's going on with your chimera. Because that has put you in way too much danger. And I don't think we need to get into another situation like that.
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't expecting us to be kidnapped. Or not kidnapped necessarily, but under arrest. I might consider it kidnapping because it was against my will, but...
Those are two totally different things.
Morgan, would we go past the air temple if we were to go south, east to Tolney?
Ooh, DM, roll a history check.
From the description, it sounded like we'd be able to like slightly go out of our way to get there, at least from what I remember of your map. But,
Honestly, I forgot where I put that temple. So give me a minute to research the background.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you send me the picture, I can show you exactly.
Okay, yeah, I'll shoot it over to you.
And you, Gazlan, mentioned your friends. What are we to expect when we land? And they also land.
Do you mean at our next spot?
Yes.
They'll probably want to talk.
I figured as much. Is this a civil talk? Or is this
Yeah,
more...
I mean, I don't think they will attack any of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll inside. It's Yaslin's people.
Yaslin's people? X to doubt?
22.
Oh yeah, no, she's pretty sure that they won't attack you.
Okay, I mean, that's safe to assume. Last I remember, a smaller one shoved a berry in my mouth, so she at least didn't let me die.
I mean, we were all fighting for the same cause, so I think they will see you as allies rather than enemies.
Any idea what this conversation is going to consist of?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Cool. That's very helpful. Okay. Sounds like a hot seat conversation. So, anyways, what's the thoughts? I know we're supposed to go to Dint, but our original way of transportation there is no longer an option. So what's the thought of making a detour, figuring out what's going on with your chimera, and then going from there?
Well, part of the issue that I can see is that basically nobody knows about what's happening. And with an entire city just burning to the ground, there are certainly people who are going to start learning about it. Word is definitely going to get out. But from what we can tell, most of the other champions and temples really either didn't know or didn't seem to care. Well, I do think it would be good to help our party member. I am slightly worried at the greater scale of the world. If they're able to take a city in, what, a couple hours? How long does it take them to take the northern half of Bordea?
I don't think it was a few hours, Warden. I think there was something going on longer. I mean, Bloom was disguised as a merchant. Who knows how long he's been there, setting stuff up from the shadows. While I do agree, I'd like to know answers on why the other elements didn't happen or happened to help. I don't want to lose another one. And if there is something we can do to get stronger, which was the idea to begin with, I think taking a detour is not a bad idea. We went into that fight with Yaslin, nothing in the tank, Margo also low on resources, and myself only having a few. I don't ever want to be in that situation again.
What we need is allies.
That's why I think going and telling people about this might garner more allies, but you do make a strong case. I mean, if we end up dying, then who is there to tell others that this is happening? Then Yaslin, if you blow up my ship from whatever has possessed you and fire bugs and other things, I will be very unhappy with you, to say the least.
Rest assured, nothing has possessed me. Don't give me that look. I see that look. Stop. Nothing has possessed me. It's bonded to me. And
I'm not talking about the Chimera.
the bug?
That
Oh,
that connected with your Chimera.
I'm pretty sure that bug's not in there anymore.
Oh no, it leaped off into the distance.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that part. I just know it's like not inside anymore. It's so is it the reason the city is on fire, or
Don't think
something
it's the
else?
main reason, but
Okay.
I do want to remind you of when we were fighting the salamander. Your Chimera did take over.
That's true.
So, Warden, as much as I hate to say it, does have a point. And that's another reason that we need, personally, I think we need to figure out what's going on with your Chimera. Because don't get me wrong, it's helped out a ton. But I've also had to try to snap you out of it.
You are right about that.
Well, we are going to one of the most scientifically advanced places on the northern half of the continent. I don't know if science is going to be able to help you. You might be dealing with a magic thing. I really don't know. But we might be able to find scientists here that could help. Additionally, this place, have either of you been here before?
No.
Right. Well, I would say try to look as unintimidating as possible.
Right.
In this place, the rule of kill or be killed is taken very, very seriously. The strongest of the people will hunt down people that look like targets and kill them, just for sport, for higher social ranking. And the higher up that you go, in this place, the stronger you are. So if we were to reach a king or president or whoever's in charge, they probably killed, like, a couple thousand adventurers. Now, there is a reason why I'm bringing everyone here. It's because of the, advanced science. And also, the good thing is, most of these people are common civilians, and injured, and or children, and or super weak. And it's not very helpful for this place if they were to just simply, kill the injured or kill people who obviously do not care about their lifestyle. So they should be safe, but we might not be. But also,
Lovely.
some of the strongest people on the planet are here too, so, it's a little bit of a trade. So I do want to just put that out there.
Okay.
Going to the city to not push buttons with nobody that can talk well with people, and two people who, even if they try not to, still push buttons.
I don't know who you could.
Dro just looks at Yaslin, and if he could look at himself, he would.
It's okay, Yaslin will look at him for him. It's not me, it's you.
At least I don't punch people randomly.
I did not punch anybody, I threw them. And it was well deserved.
Turns and looks at Warden. We should do the talking.
I'm not very good at that.
Not either.
Oh my gosh, we're fucked!
Well,
Dro's just gonna spin and look at Randar.
Maybe we look. Is there like anybody capable on this ship at talking?
I'll do what I can, but I'm not exactly a people person.
Oh gosh.
I can wing it.
Oh,
To be fair, I mean, it's worked occasionally.
Now, to add on to what Warden's supplied so far about the city, I've met some of these folks. They love the hunt. There's no sport in weak or injured prey for them. We should be okay for a few days, but once we're up to fighting spirit, any of us that are up for a bit of a scrap, we may be challenged.
oh, this is not good.
Correct.
This is not good for Yaslin.
Not necessarily a bad thing. If you can prove yourself, you may gain a bit of social standing while we're here.
When you say scrapped, is it your standard one-on-one or your standard teaching of whooping someone's ass?
What's the difference?
To most, there is a big difference.
I'd like to see what they can come up with. Been a while since I've tasted something new in a combat.
So it's more of a, I wouldn't say friendly fight, but not concern of death. And Dro is going to insight Brandar the first time in his entire life based off what his answer is.
Okay, roll insight.
Oh. It's a 13.
I don't know, hard to tell. Tough old man.
Okay. Well, I'll just hope it isn't to the death. And I can't say much because I did kind of volunteer everybody to fight you guys to try to make them stronger. So I guess we'll play it by ear. And to Warden's point of allies, it might not be a bad idea if we can prove that we're capable allies to them. Look at Yaslin. But we cannot pick the fights.
Listen, I rarely am the person who picks the fights. It's always somebody coming up to me.
I'm gonna tell you
50-50.
one word that Randar always tells me.
What?
Patience.
Ugh. I'm working on that.
Then
So-
let's make some sort of deal. If you feel like you're about to punch somebody, some way tell Warden and I. And we'll try to calm you down.
Right. Okay.
Can I roll an insight to see if she believes that either Warden or I could calm her down?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know. That's a 1. That dice is going away.
That dice is going in the dice jail. The only place it belongs.
So before you, let me rephrase this. If you even feel like you want to punch somebody, let us know some way.
Of course.
Where can I die?
I mean, listen. I'm pretty sure I had that same mentality walking into Aurora's Rest. Like, I'm gonna die. But we made it out. Most of us.
Yes, then you perfectly segued into something that I was just about to bring up anyways.
Oh?
We need to talk about that.
About what?
How unconscious were you?
During?
The end, when we were escaping.
I mean, I was moving.
Before or after you leaped off the tower?
Okay. That is a sore subject I don't want to talk about. After the tower, very conscious. Before the tower, also very conscious. Why?
Margo's dead.
I know. But I think there's a way we could bring her back.
There's not normally a way of coming back from, quite literally, nothing. She does not have anything. There are no ashes to bring back. It is simply nothing.
My people are the most medically advanced civilization I know. If anyone could pull off a miracle, it would be them.
I don't think medicine can restore nothing.
So I don't want the medicine, but I can't tell you everything.
Why?
Dro.
Hold on. Why?
Why? Pawnee are rather secretive and protective of our knowledge and what we know. What I give you guys is what I can give you.
What happens if you give more?
Well, I could endanger my people.
Okay. I'll drop it. Drow will just give you a look of understanding. Warden, you had a question.
Yes, my question is, why the hell are you all so damn secretive? Dro, you told me what was happening in your life when we had a nice heart-to-heart. Yaslin, you've told us basically nothing, and then a bug jumped out of you, and then you got knocked out a couple times, and here you are telling us basically nothing again. And Margo, I mean, I think she said 10 words to me before she exploded. So, we're going to need to start talking about what's happening, and I feel like it's very, very important if we were to suddenly, be very cool with explaining to each other why we are the way we are, where we're going, and what little mystical secrets that could potentially bring people back from the dead we could potentially use to fight the enemy.
I mean, my people do medicine. They don't really. That's not entirely true. Some of them can fight. Actually, most of them can fight.
I was gonna say the two that were there seemed like they were pretty capable of fighting.
Actually, let me redact a couple of statements. Most of them, they're resourceful. We're a resourceful people.
It's fair to say. Warden, you haven't been with us long, and we, yes, did have our secrets, but before you had joined, we did what we called the hot seat. And
No.
most, if not all, of the secrets of us did come out. I can't say much because I wasn't in there, because I purposely avoided it. And the secret I held from you guys is what I tried to tell you in the courtroom until we had a little peeper listening in. As he says that, Dro's just looking around the room. Are you sure if we are to start explaining that the only people in this room will hear it?
Is there any way that I can check that? Do I know if the ship goes faster than a scrying eye would be able to go, or if it has any defensive capabilities against magical spells being cast in here, or if I can look around?
He looks around. Can I help him? Because Dro would be doing it too.
There's a lot of noisy happening in my house. Warden, with your semi-limited magical capabilities, is one of the things that you would have spent your resources on, would it be abjuration magic to protect against scrying?
Alright, so then it would be relatively defensive?
That was a question. That was a question for you. So, like, as in your profession, would you have spent, you over time you've collected resources and you put everything you had into the ship. And I'll probably ask you this 2 or 3 times, and that's about it. Would you have spent time and energy and resources on protecting your ship from divination magic?
Yes, simply for the sake of I smuggle things from time to time.
Yes, so I would agree. you have a base. I would say you have basic protection against scrying, kind of like, and it's not necessarily. I don't want to say it's. Let me see how here. I'm looking up the spell.
I was trying to think of what that spell was too.
There's the spell of non-detection.
Private Sanctum is another one that
Yeah,
works
Mordekainer's
against
private
scrying
thing.
any divination. Yeah. Anything.
Everybody was talking at the same time, so I don't know
Sorry.
what said.
Private Sanctum.
Okay.
It's like a
It protects against any kind of divination.
Yeah, I'm gonna say for the size that the Gale is, that's pretty massive. That would be an incredibly expensive thing. Let's say
what if it was
Wardan,
just like,
did we come up with like a square footage for the Gale?
No, we've not done how big it is.
Yeah. Gotcha. So think what you would have done is you would have picked up little trinkets that specifically prevent scrying. Like small runes. You've kind of had other people come in and like put runes on the outside of the ship, and they're not necessarily visible unless you're specifically looking for them. That protect against scrying. Doing something like non-detection, where the entire ship is, immune to all divination, that would be an incredibly expensive set. But you do have non-scrying on the ship.
Yeah, I feel like the places I would probably put them are the left and right cargo storage, the cockpit, my room, and the actual cargo storage in the back. The other rooms and areas in the ship don't matter nearly as much.
Okay, yeah, that checks out to me too.
Well, yes. I can't guarantee that we are safe, but I have taken quite a few certain precautions against people being able to spy.
Okay. Then what do you want to know?
Oh, just a flat, what do I want to know? Oh, wow. Well, Dro, it seems like your past has caught up with you relatively quickly, and we just went through most of that. Is there anything else in the past that we should be worried about? Do you have a random possession that is not Echo, your brother, I think you said he was, that we should have to worry about, and or any, I don't know, bounty hunters, massive armies, angry tribes of barbarians, or skillful pilots hunting you down?
Those are oddly specific.
Those are examples.
Start from the beginning. No. Echo was the only, I wouldn't say possession, but other individual that most people weren't aware of. In terms of people who I have pissed off, there are many.
This is fair.
And this kind of goes for the lot of us. Is the beginning when I left Aurora's Rest, took some odd jobs here and there to make some coin. Ran ran into a group of poachers who I did some work here and there for, and they are the reason I met Yaslin. And we were tasked with the objective to meet up with another group, which consisted of Seamus and a few others who are no longer traveling with us. And we were to hunt down the Kieran of the Ripples. And
You hear a knock on the door.
Tro immediately stops. Warden. Who was that?
And that's a good question. Warden is going to go ahead and activate the autopilot, pull out his guns, and walk over to the door.
I assume you open the door.
No. As I walk over to the door...
He just shoots at the door.
I'm not just gonna shoot the door down. I care about the Gale way too much for that.
That's fair, that's fair.
I'm going to stand a little bit from the door, guns just pointing at it, and go, "Yes, can I help you? Who is it?"
Hello, I'm sorry, Captain. The passengers, we need food and blankets, and I know you're rationing, but the sooner we can touch down, the better. We need medical professionals and supplies.
Warden is going to turn to everyone else and go, "Well, shit. It seems like this conversation is going to have to wait, and I'd prefer for it not to wait, but fuck me." He is going to go ahead and holster his weapons, turn back to the door, and say, "Alright, well, Morgan, how long are we before we arrive?"
I'd say with the amount that you guys had to sleep, most of you slept between 12 and 16 hours straight.
Jeez.
So, it's about a 2 days journey with the payload that you have, and you guys are about in the evening prior to the morning that you expect to arrive.
Right. Well, everyone, it seems as though we only have a little bit of time left, 8 hours or so. Maybe 10. So we'll find time to continue this conversation. He's going to turn to the door and open it.
You see a average height, tan-skinned, high elven woman. You can see from her ears poking out through her thick, brown, almost black, curly hair. She has... I already forgot what color her eyes were. Oh well. She has green, almost hazel eyes. She's wearing a beautiful flowing gown that's kind of reminiscent of wizard's robes. It's a deep, dark, verdant green embossed with gold thread. She has a bunch of gold jewelry on, thick rimmed gold glasses, and she has a book holstered to her hip, as well as a broom in her hands. She's clearly high elf.
Right, so blankets and food and whatnot. What is your name?
Cressida.
Cressida. Where is that from?
Well, I was born in the Empire quite some time ago, but I haven't been back in many years. I'm young for my people, but as I understand with some of your lifespans, I may be considered much older.
Right, Empire. That sounds about right.
Aurora's rest for several decades now.
Cressida Sylvestra.
Randar, yes.
Right. I don't believe we've ever had the pleasure of meeting in person, but
I know the name well enough of one of the 24.
Yes. I'm happy to see you made it out.
Aye, and you as well. You're the only one of the Athenium leaders that I'm aware of that made it out. But information is severely limited currently.
24 what?
The Grand Athenium. It, the 24 wizards' towers that supply the general gist of the magical research that Aurora's Rest was founded on.
Joe's gonna lean over to Warden, similar to Hassport.
Gotcha.
Yes, Passport is one of them. Passport, Biadala, Elena, me. My specialty is boons and banes, improving your allies while diminishing your enemies. That's the type of magic I've studied.
And
Sounds like
as you guys are talking to her, you notice she has a deep laceration kind of running across, like, kind of diagonally up from her eyebrow, that seems to like have bled and coagulated, and she has a wrap on her right hand wrist as well.
It sounds like curses and witchcraft to me, and I don't deal with that. So, you said you're quite...
Looking at magic, but yes.
You said you're quite young. How old are you? And also, what are your injuries?
Well, it's not common that one asks a woman for her age, but I will indulge you in this hard time. I turned 150 this year.
Right, so, you're young for your age. Jesus.
Yes.
Sure, we'll go with that. Warden, who's like 34, 33, about to die of old age.
Oh no, not the bug!
D&D age differences.
I had to look up what half elves' ages were. How that worked.
Yeah, high elves live for fucking ever. But yes, to answer your second question, I burned my wrist was burned with a fire whip something during the attack, and some debris hit me and knocked me out. Unfortunately, I would have been of more use had I been more careful.
Insight on that. Mostly on, is she telling the truth that she was knocked out and that's why she didn't help? Why? At least I'm going against the hopefully 14.
Telling the truth.
Okay.
You, Dro, when you were growing up, there were only like 21 towers. Since you left and came back, 3 more were added. And the general gist and gossip and rumor mongering of the town is that if you are privileged and in good standing enough to get a tower, there's a lot of expectation to uphold that station. And there's a lot of pressure on it. And for the gist of it, people hold that up. I'm losing it off the top of my head. The asshole who framed you.
I was just thinking. Yeah, I know who you mean.
Yep, it's in my notes here somewhere.
Galak?
Yeah, Galak.
Galax.
Galax. That was a surprising revelation that one of the 24 would be dealing with wrongdoings. So, and you expect that, like, you know, with what she's saying, she helped as much as she could until she was rendered likely incapacitated.
She mentioned a tower. Dro lived most of his life in Aurora's Rest. Was this tower already there before he left? Was he aware of it? Okay.
When did he leave? Oh yeah.
I think based on the history we were talking about.
He was built before he was born. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ, she's that much older. Okay.
150.
Let's say, because Dro technically, Morgan, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't leave, he hasn't been gone from Aurora's Rest super long. If I remember correctly. I don't even know if we talked about time frame on that.
I'm not sure we did, but I kind of imagined it was around. Let me see. What's your current age?
Depends on. Technically, if we did like human years, he's late 20s, but then if it's elf, it's probably it's higher.
Yeah. I think you've been gone probably for around 9 or 10 years.
Okay.
So not a really long time.
Enough time for some big changes. Okay.
Yeah. Because I think Freya died while you were still a teen, right?
No, it would have been. He left immediately after that.
Right. Yeah. So just like where. Yeah,
as an L. Yes. I get what you mean there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you being late 20s now, like I'm thinking like she died when you were about 15, 16 or something like that. And so if you're in late 20s, it's been around 9 or 10 years or something like that at this point.
Okay. So I would be at least somewhat aware of who she is. Not very detailed, but maybe.
I feel like
Yeah, and give me a
Morgan.
Give me a quick history check as well, Drew.
What might lower the DC for him is the kind of work she does out of her tower, with him being a street kid for so long.
Yeah, street kids don't have a lot of insight into what the towers are doing.
Yeah, but there was a note. I'll message you.
14.
Okay. 14.
Yeah.
Okay. You've heard of her tower?
I don't know.
But
of
course I
crazy. I'd imagine it'd just be like he didn't learn it from school. It's just more of him in the streets overhearing talks of people, and maybe Brandar trying to teach him and him not fully paying attention.
I apologize if I'm coming across as hostile. You just happened to knock on the door at a very inopportune time. It just gave us all a little bit of a startle is all. We will be arriving in the morning. If people are able to make it through the night, then that would be absolutely wonderful. If people can sleep near the engine to help deal with the fact that we don't have quite enough blankets for everyone, that would also be wonderful. As for the food, I will be able to ration out just a little bit more, but I will not be rationing out any additional, simply for the sake of we shall be arriving soon enough.
If it's a concern with your remaining rations, I can certainly fund your resupply once we arrive.
Swear to God.
Well, if you have the money for it, then of course.
Swear to God, if this money came from Daddy's wallet, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I don't know.
Yes, if you're able to resupply the rations, then I don't mind giving out however much is needed, but I must have your word that you will pay for it.
Of course. Why would I not? You've saved most of our well, who you could of the population, from what I understand, though. I've heard talk that you were the ones who at least attempted to save us.
Yes, we did attempt. Pretty good attempt, too, but an attempt nonetheless. Yes, it is just simply a security thing. I've dealt with different types of people in the past, and I like to just get people's word before I do anything, just to make sure that bad things don't happen. Now is a really great time to take advantage of people, since everyone is sick or injured or too young to know better, and, well, I just don't want any of that happening to anyone. I also, unfortunately, do not know you well enough, nor have I really ever heard of you, so I do not know the character. But Randar does seem to trust you, and so your word is good enough.
Dro, with the with the 14, a few of the mage towers are philanthropic in nature, and with that saying like boons and banes, one of the things that the street kids like to do is make up dumb little rhymes and stuff. And there's one about like, don't make the gold rim mad, or she'll poison your soup, but make her glad and she'll make it taste like gold. Or she'll make it taste like flowers. It's a dumb little thing, talking about the diverse nature between like boons and banes, but also the fact that like she ran a soup kitchen, like kind of a food for the less fortunate, as one of the staple things out of the tower. And you had been there before, and after thinking about it for a minute, you start to connect the dots.
I think Dro's protective demeanor as they're talking and thinking of that, he'll look at Randar and see how comfortable he is around her and recalling that, and I think he'll loosen up a little bit. He's not gonna say anything, but is a little less suspicious of her. Especially considering she is from where Dro is from.
I want to insight check the room to get a vibe of how everyone's feeling with me, because it feels tense.
Oh my gosh, are you for real?
Welcome to
is
the
this?
campaign.
Feeling. How you feeling?
About you?
Yeah.
I'll let the others go first.
Naturally.
I guess Yaslin kind of like sized you up at first. But then when you started talking all this weird mumbo jumbo tower stuff, she was like, oh, a nerd. I could put you in like a headlock pretty easily. I think so. She looks pretty. She looks pretty like, you know, relaxed, but kind of also like, you know, if something happened, she's ready. Relaxed but ready.
Warden is very cautious. He doesn't inherently think that she's going to do bad, but he also doesn't inherently think that she's going to do good, since he doesn't know her or any of the people that he's just brought aboard his ship. He's very worried that someone is going to do something that'll make things go awry. Especially because that is quite literally what happened. Was Warden looked out the window of the courtroom, went, "Hey, there's a big portal over there, everyone. Can you guys see it?" And everyone else is like, "Not oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah, no, wait, that wasn't, was that there? Was that always there? Oh, that's been there, because everything's been oh, shit." So, Warden is just very cautious.
Dro is conflicted. There's one part of him who, similar to Warden, is on edge. This new person just come up. As someone new from Aurora's Rest, and he just recalls Bloom hiding in the skies in the city. So he's on edge. I think there's still a more protective stance for the two next to him, and emotion of if something happens, to Randar right there, he's going to act. But after the conversation of who you said you are, with Randar's demeanor towards you, with thinking of the little rhymes he's heard in his childhood, there's a part of him that feels relief of seeing someone from his home and someone that has a kind heart, from what he's heard and what he would have maybe seen. And I think there's a slight part of him that sees that kindness that Freya gives to people in her. So while Warden is very on ease and defensive, Dro is as well, just not as much. He doesn't know what side he wants to trust just yet.
I can see I interrupted a very important conversation, but there are concerns to be tended to in the back. If anybody is skilled with medicine or cooking even to help for the last few hours of this journey to make everyone comfortable.
I think unintentionally Dro starts to chime up. I know someone that's good at cook. And he'll just stop. Randar and I might be able to help. I would like to finish this conversation up and then I'll make my way over there.
And what are you skilled in?
I thought protecting.
I think you see. Hold on. Roll something for that. Oh yeah. When you say at protecting, you see her like visual sadness, concern, fear flash across her face before she tries to compose herself again. Well, there's much work to be done.
Grandar, do you think you could begin to help out and I can come aid you after this conversation?
I'm here for whatever needs to be done. Oh. You do what you need to do up here. I'll do what I do on most days, is take care of the people.
I'll be down there shortly.
Right.
Above table. Does Dro have proficiency in medicine?
No,
No. Okay.
I just got a +3. If you listen to Randar, he probably would have.
Above table, Yaslin does.
Yaslin's proficient in
Okay,
medicine?
but
Yeah.
where she's from?
Yeah, where she's from, she picked up a couple tricks here and there, okay? I know it's surprising the barbarian. Oh, you're
Well-
muted, Morgan.
Which one?
Thank you.
Which one?
I was in the middle of fighting Midjourney. Yeah, you know that. You have any idea how many times Yaslin has performed medicine on herself, like first aid and whatnot?
Cressida's gonna step forward looking at the group and just say, is there any who could assist with medical care? Who are trained in this aspect?
Raise his hand.
Dro's just gonna turn. You are?
Cressida's gonna walk forward to you.
Surprisingly,
Um.
yes, I do know how to apply first aid.
Well, that first aid will be sorely needed. If you can come down in at least less than an hour and help out, you should find yourself a bit more skilled in that as I cast skill empowerment on you. So you now have expertise in medicine
Oh damn!
for 1 hour.
Wow.
Holy smolies! What does that make this?
It should be your proficiency bonus times 2 added to your medicine checks.
Dro's gonna look over at Warden. I think our previous conversation we could have just between the two of us. If, and turn to Yaslin, if you want to go help them.
Yeah, I think I can.
I think Yaslin walks by, Dro just kind of grabs her hand and squeezes it and then lets go.
Sure does that squeeze.
And Cressida glides out in that weird young old elf walk.
Make his way back up.
Warden closes the door and heads back and sits down.
Where did I leave off? Right. I met Yaslin. We met up with Seamus's group at the time to, like I said, hunt down the Kieran. And obviously a bigger threat came with fire when it attacked the ripples. That's where we met Margo when she was trying to help put out the flames. Therefore, she joined us. We fought some battles together and put our original tasks on the back burner for a while. slowly learning information about each other. And Yaslin and I decided to make a decision of abandoning the hunt for the Kirin. Throwing the devices we were given to bait him out off a mountain, which obviously probably made us enemies of them. Later, meeting the Kirin and becoming the champion, and you know the story behind that.
Bro, I need to say something that is going to stay between us two. Especially because Yaslin does not trust us enough to speak her truth. Well, I apologize to interrupt you in your story. I did get a little bit of it previously, and I believe I'm now caught up on the storyline itself. But you said earlier that we were going to have a discussion after we had a long fight and travel through the city, as our discussion in the courthouse was cut short. And I felt like everyone was starting to gang up on me a little bit, and the scrying eye certainly did not help. But it is important that you know this. Wardan is going to go ahead and stand up, and you see that as he stands up, he's a little bit shaky. But he's not like falling over blackout drunk, but he's also not, standing upright perfectly as if he were sober. He's just definitely tipsy in the middle. He goes, doesn't that feel great? Your pilot is tipsy as he's flying you.
Yeah.
He goes, well, these, and he spreads his wings. And in the wings you can see that they are this kind of very light purple. I don't know if it's like skin, but I guess it is. The very, very light skin, and it's a purplish skin that kind of has hints of blues and dark hues of purple that match the rest of his body. And while you look into the wings, you can see that they have been irreparably damaged. There are various splash marks all throughout the wings, to the point where Wardan would never be able to fly again unless they were fixed, and there was probably no way that these wings would ever be able to be fixed. And he goes, I've been asked multiple times about my ability to fly. I discovered knowledge that I should not have discovered. There's a dragon that rests beneath the Dragonspine Mountains. And my original colony, nobody knew about it, save for the Queen. And this dragon was being exploited and used and defiled in various ways, dishonorably. And upon my discovery and subsequent curiosity of the dragon, I returned home to the hive, and as I was returning home, I was met with a series of guards. They immediately led me to the Queen, who did not take kindly to the knowledge that I had just learned. I was scarred, I was tossed from the hive, and I then was forced to travel until I found somewhere, anywhere but there. But I had only known life in the hive, and I was so alone for those weeks after being cast out. And his wings are going to go ahead and back into his back. He continues, that is where I found the air temple, and you know this part of the story, where I happen to learn and study, do various different things, flew around my champion. But I had a bond with him that was quite similar to that and your previous lover? Would that be the right identifier? Best friend? I don't know what he meant to me. I don't know if he was somebody I loved romantically, or if he was a best friend, or I don't know. But we had gone off to the Three Green Hive. I believe I told you about this, yes?
Yeah.
And we returned. We somehow led the hive to the temple. Many were killed that night, including the champion. I was given the champion's signet and declared champion. Except I wasn't. I was given the signet, and upon clearing out the hive that had attempted to infest the temple, I approached the elders of the temple, and I told them what the final words were said to me. I showed them the signet. They knew the amount of time that I had traveled with him, and by all means, I should have been declared champion there. But there was a significant distrust of me. And so the title of champion was given to someone else. And before I was forced to give the signet away, I ran. I took my ship, and I fled to Aurora's Rest, where I proceeded to do various odd jobs, smuggling or dropping off cargo or ferrying people around, until I eventually met you. There's a reason why the mages in the tower were unable to find any information regarding me as the champion, and that's because I am not a champion of air. I cannot fly. I have been shamed and cast out of the temple. And while I do wish to return to the temple, I do not actually wish to set foot on the grounds. I feel like it would make sense if I were to simply drop the ship off a couple miles away, let you all continue, talk to the elders at the temple, and then we could return and go to the Tolney Forest. Because I'm not welcome there, and if I were to return there, then I honestly don't know what happened. But I've been struggling with this for a long time, because I know what it means to be a champion. I know what I'm supposed to do as a champion, but I am not a champion. Not like you are. I try my best, but I'm a liar. And while that eye could have been anything, it could be the dragon watching me, it could have been my queen watching me, or it could have been the temple watching me. I have made enemies, much like you have said you have too, and well, if I don't die of any other reason, I'll die of old age, and I've lived very quietly and unhappy for quite a few years at this point. And finally, I feel like I have a cause. I know that my champion would never be able to come back from the dead with whatever mystic revivification Yaslin is speaking of. He's gone. And I know there is no sense in bringing me back from the dead if I were to have ever died. But I don't know, something feels wrong not telling you that I've been lying to you.
Do you want to be a champion?
I don't know. I think so. I mean, I've certainly convinced myself that I am a champion. I have everything that signifies that I am a champion besides the blessing of the people who actually bestow the title of champion, but since I am not a champion, I am merely a warden.
I don't think the title champion matters. Warden, when I first got this skill, or this title, it wasn't because I wanted it. It's because I wanted to save those I cared about. It is about giving up sacrifices to protect. And from what I've seen from you, you will protect. And you've shown it time and time and time again. You followed us into a heart of fire for a city you have no attachment to, with a couple of strangers who said they were going to hire you to be their pilot. I still feel uncomfortable when people call me Zot Dro or Champion Dro, because to me, I don't think I earned that title. I don't know how to use these powers. I don't fully understand it. I was just giving it because I was desperate to save those I love. Warden, you've shown the kindness, the selflessness of protecting those. I mean, you just put 30 plus injured strangers on your ship, and you're taking them somewhere safe for nothing but just sheer kindness. So if you want a title champion, sure, we'll call you a champion. But hell, if we're doing that, we might as well call Margo, Yaslin, Seamus champions. Because they've done the same thing. I don't think it matters what the title is that you got. It matters what you do. And when you've told me and what I've seen, you're a protector. I think that's what should matter. Who cares about a title? Trust me, I grew up with many titles, none good. Been called every name in the book. To just street rat, a disgrace, mixed blood. I'll still protect people, even if I truly don't believe I can. So, I appreciate the trust that you show in me. And I don't think the mistrust that you see from Yaslin is actual mistrust. We talk of being protectors of those we care about, of people, and I think that's all she's doing, is she's protecting her people. And I trust her with my life. And if she says something, I'm going to believe it. And I think, and I told her, wherever she goes, I go. So I know it's your choice. But I think maybe not having this a secret from her would be a good thing. In terms of your plan, I don't think it would be a bad idea to go talk to the temple. And recent events of me arriving home and how well that went, I think your plan of maybe staying on this ship might not be a bad idea, and I'll use and abuse the title Champion of a Water. Maybe get a meeting with them and see what's going on. Maybe potential allies, and if you would like information that they have on you and what they plan to do, whatever you want to find out, I can try to find out. One question does come to mind. You had mentioned this dragon. Why would he be a possible option of one that was scrying on you?
Things don't like to be woken up. I believe that my entry into its lair might have stirred it, if it wasn't already awake. And it's possible that it is interested in me simply for the sake of using me and my knowledge to escape and go live its life, break free from the mountains. Or it's possible that I learned something I shouldn't have learned, and I have no idea what I would have learned. Or perhaps vengeance against the queen, or perhaps the dragon itself is controlled by the queen, which would not be shocking.
Okay, so we'll add that to the list of possible issues down the road.
I think that so long as we continue our course, I've gone about a decade now without any word from them and the hive. We should be good, especially since I'm nearing the end of my life anyways.
That's fair. Okay. So keep an eye out for a dragon.
Yes. Hopefully we can outfly it. But it shouldn't be an issue. Joe, I'd like to say thank you. He is going to pull out the signet for the Champion of Air, and he says, I lived my life in, as an old man looking back on it, stages, or perhaps eras, or... Yes, I think eras would probably be the best word. In the first era, I was part of the hive, and I had community, uniformity, security. In the next era, I was seeking knowledge, and I was learning all about what it means to be good, to be right. In my third era, I was stagnant, going from place to place and not really doing anything, being anyone. But I think for the end of my life, I am not a warden, nor do I think I'm a champion. I think I am the word that you said I was. Protector. So this signet, I don't think it's mine. He's going to hold it out to you. Champion is a title from my second era. A time where I really cared about the community that I had found, really believed that that's what I would become. But life had other plans for me. And I think that, whether I like it or not, I've accidentally stumbled across a new place to be, a new person to become. And I think that those names that I've been living by are wrong.
Ro's gonna look down at the signia. I don't think this should stand for a champion. I think, like I said, the actions one does. Call it a champion, sure. Do what you want with it, but I think protector sounds better. And he's gonna take the front of your hand and curl your fingers over it. I think of this as a signet of a protector. Just as I think of this sword as a tool for protecting. We both at times don't even know what we're capable of, what deeper powers we have, what we haven't explored. And trust me, that laser beam that you did, there's power there. And there's power in this sword still. So keep this signia and think of it as a signia for a protector. And a promise that we will protect people till the very end. And if you keep this, he's going to hesitate and look down at the sword. I'll keep this. And
Wardan's in. Sorry, go ahead.
what we do, even though we can't protect everybody, even our friends. And in his other hand, this whole time he's had the blood vial of Margo's. We avenge them. Those we cared about that have passed on. That's what we are. And I take it, we did have a conversation prior of you permanently joining the group. I'm assuming the answer is yes after everything that's happened.
There is no place I'd rather be.
Dro's, for the first time since he's been on this airship, kind of smiles. Good. Like you said, we're gonna need more allies, and we're gonna need to get stronger. And not gonna lie, being up in the sky is pretty fun. Just don't let Yaslin jump off the ship while it's flying. She's done it once already.
She's jumped off of...
It's a long story.
Do we need to tether her to a pole stuck in the ground or something?
She'll rip it out.
Not if it's an immovable rod.
That's tempting.
Right.
But like I said, it's your choice. I appreciate you sharing this information. And Yaslin can definitely speak for the fact that I have very much pushed for honest answers among the group. I can say among the group. And I think it's fair, since you've agreed to join, that there is information, even if it was information about Margo, I can share with you. And Yaslin will share what she can share. And my information is pretty much out in the open now. So, but I think that conversation may want to wait when we don't have 30 plus other individuals on the ship.
Yes. I think it's time that we perhaps get to tending.
Yeah, and I would like to see these skills of medicine that Yaslin mistakenly didn't inform any of us about. And I hope it's not her breaking bones. Which, now that I think about it, might be the case. I should probably go check on that. Dro is going to kind of put his hand on your shoulder, nod, and start to make his way out. Now thinking of what Yaslin's medical expertise is, and begins to pick up pace, a little concerned.
Yaslin really just doesn't tell anyone anything.
She's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah. Start to hear screaming. Oh shit.
So Randar, Cressida, Yaslin, the three of you. I mean, it's been about a long day, and you guys are going about in primarily the main cargo bay, but there's people littered kind of all over the place. But there are still people that need medical treatment, and there's very little magical healing available. Jula, the priestess, she is tapped because everybody's hurt. She, every time she recovers any amount of magical capabilities, she's basically using it immediately, trying to heal everybody up. It's one true healer, and she's not even like that powerful against 38 bodies. So she is severely overtaxed. So there's still quite a bit of need for medical treatment, just like first aid and bone setting and all sorts of stuff. So from all three of you, please give me a medicine check.
You have expertise, Yaslin.
Yeah, I might need to. I'm gonna see if I can change that over to expertise
That
for a
is
hot second.
not good.
Yeah, go ahead and just add whatever it is, your
This is double your
proficiency
performance
modifier.
bonus.
Just do it as a situational modifier. Just add
Oh.
what if you're whatever it is again. I'm okay. An 18. Okay. You know, despite what people might think, you have spent a lot of time tending to injuries in your previous occupation, with your upbringing. There's no way Grandpa War Machine would let you know would let you get away with not knowing how to treat wounds in case you're ever isolated and you are wounded. You need to keep yourself moving. It's also part of the Tolney training regimen for just about everybody, because y'all inevitably you all go on the hunt. You all go for the two and deer, the trial of bonds, and you're always isolated for that. It's a requirement to be isolated. So to be able to take care of yourself to a certain degree is absolutely required. You go around and you do help quite a bit. You're an extra pair of hands. You were not functional yesterday. Today you can help.
Yeah.
How was Cressida's medicine check?
8.
An 8?
Yeah.
You and Randar help change some bandages and stuff. Like it's you're helping, but you're not as helpful. You're doing basic stuff. Yaslin is actually able to perform a couple of more difficult tasks. And Randar is going to change. Oh, actually, Randar is going to change his aura. Even though it's kind of draining on him, he's going to change his aura to be the aura of bless. So everybody within 15 feet of him gets bless. So Yaslin and so everybody go ahead and roll another d4. I think I rolled for Yaslin.
Oh.
Okay, Yaslin, you get a dirty 20. Randar gets an 11, and Cressida gets a 9.
Oh no!
Not my cup of tea
Dice are being
I
mean.
to do this.
You're trying, and Yaslin, you're doing more than like twice the work of like Yaslin, of Cressida and Randar, kind of like
It's fine. Yaslin's like.
at the same time.
Yaslin's not really here to judge. She did volunteer her help, and so she's really just like, all right.
Yeah, Yaslin, what's your bedside manner like?
Oh God. I'm not
That's
even
one
gonna
question.
lie.
Don't ask a barbarian.
I mean, she's not like It's not perfect. It's by any means like by far not the most gentle of bedside manners, but she's definitely like tries to make it as comfortable for them, like setting bones and like dressing wounds without like causing unnecessary pain.
But I kind of imagine like she's also not the type that's going to avoid a swift movement that'll do it quickly to avoid the pain.
She's gonna be like, and if she does, she's like, count down to 3. Count down from 3, and just like 1, 2, click.
Yeah, one click. Oh.
Trust me, it would have hurt a lot worse if I had done this slowly.
I imagine you know what you're doing with a broken bone or two. I'll trust you on that.
You guys kind of roll into a rhythm of just like moving around and helping out and getting things as good as they can be, or at least a little better than it was an hour ago. Most people are still just utterly defeated. Cressida, give me a performance check.
A performance check?
Ruh-roh.
What's going on here? I'm curious now. Cressida,
We're going from like a +6 or whatever that Margo had to a +1.
Oh.
It's a 10.
And
Wait till you see my Arcana though.
Oh. I have no doubt.
I hate to ask because I don't want to stir the pot if it's a fresh wound. Do you have news of your wife?
No, but we have no news of any of the other 24. She's out there, I'm sure. She's helping with the evacuations.
I'm sure. Her reputation is stellar for keeping things under control. I'm sure I'm sure she's fine.
Yes. I know she was called to the heart. There was something important they had to defend there, but she's the best defender Aurora has. She's fine. Find her. She can't. There's no way she can. I'm sure she's fine. She's with the rest of the Athenium. We just have to find her. Find them.
All right.
But
Think gathering our people could help unify the threads of information that so many of these splinters have.
like, why did they attack? And who were they? You were there, Yasmin. From what I hear, you're in the middle of it.
I'm not entirely sure.
From what little I know, it may be best to keep this as a more private conversation.
Of course. Of course.
he kind of like leans down and like puts his big like meaty hand on the side of like a little girl's face. And
Do you know what I did? I was able to sneak a little something out of the city.
he reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a candy.
One for you, one for your sister. Enjoy those. Be brave, yeah?
Kind of keeps working along. How is Yaslin's behavior, state of mind?
I think it's almost surreal, and so there's definitely somewhere in there this shock of what has happened, but she's also been a trained soldier, and they're still in the middle of crisis, and so she's knows fully well there's like not really time for her to get to in the fields.
Okay. Cressida, about yourself.
I think she's trying to focus on the positive. She's been alive for a while, but I don't think she's ever gone through a crisis quite like this. So this is probably the second time in her life that she doesn't know where her loved ones are, and the last time the answer to that question was not so great, so she is trying to hide that stress and think positively. Try to hold on to that hope for as long as she can. She knows the importance of being patient and controlled and well-mannered.
Okay. Takes 2 or 3 hours to get around to everybody and maintain to what, or give them what they need for the day. Afterwards, you do have some free time to get yourselves back. And is there anything that you want to do when you have a little bit more of a moment to yourself?
No, she's just trying to be useful. Trying to find a place where she can be useful. She knows her skills are not quite attuned to caring directly for the needy, but she tries to help where she can.
Yeah. Yaslin, how about you?
I think once she is kind of satisfied that she's done what she can for the people, she kind of actually she opens up her communicator to contact what's their name? The two people that were there with them in the fight.
Yeah. Rollick and Maldia.
I think she just kind of asks for like a status update and sort of like a what should I be expecting when we land?
Which one do you address?
I
Y'all
think
seem
Maldia.
Maldia. Okay.
Yeah.
The more like sassy Frenchish one. I say ish because my French accent is in practice. That's a better question to ask you. Yes. We're the ones in the dark here. And we need to debrief you so we understand any of what has just happened. There's obviously an attack. That's not uncommon
on Aeon.
However, you seem to be in the middle of it, and we need to know why.
Well, we were in Aurora's Rest to gather information on these graphs that have been opening. Of course, it wasn't the safest place for us to be, and we might have gotten into a scuffle. And there might have been my internet.
And you give them a very brief overview, but you know that these communicators it's not necessarily an exact telephone call. It's more like a slightly extended version of
ABCD happened.
yeah, slightly extended version of sending. But the device ultimately it's got a couple of charges, but ultimately it takes about a week for the device to recharge all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends with like, we'll talk more when we land.
Yeah. Gosh. Just, don't kill any of my allies. I've told them that you won't attack them, so please don't.
If any of them are responsible for what just happened, I may have to kick their ass anyways.
Don't think they are.
I doubt it. But just in case.
Of course.
You know who you're talking to. Don't try to keep violence off the table indefinitely. That doesn't work out for people like us.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm sure you do.
All right. Yaslin, you didn't really have much to yourself last night because you just passed straight out now that you've kind of ticked the box of talking to your compatriots in the vehicle behind. You are by yourself without having to fight. This probably for the first time in what feels like maybe 4 or 5 days, you have a moment to yourself. How does this all sit in? I mean, Cax exploded out of you, wrecking your body in the process. And then you were suddenly engulfed in a flaming war zone after being in prison.
Yeah.
Like, you've had a massively shitty week.
Yeah, this week has not been Yasmin. I think, she's finally, found, a spot that is kind of quiet to herself, and she just, pulls her knees up, puts her hands on her head, and it's fuck. I could use a drink. And, oh my gosh, I think she tries to look inward in this moment to check up on her chimera. Because, I mean, she's been through the ringer, and she knows they've been through the ringer too.
Go ahead and give me an insight check.
That's about how I expected.
I was gonna say give it to me at advantage on this one. You've had some time to rest. You've gone through a lot. And you look inward. It's that feeling of spending so much time dealing outside that you don't spend any of your time inside. And it's like it feels like a new scene, even though it shouldn't, even though it should be the same as always, even though you should feel like it's a familiar space. You look inward and you feel a little lost as what you see inside doesn't make any sense. Those shifting kind of panes of glass that you had seen recently were finally able to grasp on to the dragon and use it to empower yourself for a little bit in the fight against Bloom. Then you lost it again, and you've just been running or resting since. What you see instead of shifting panes now feels like a painting of mixed colors. And you're not sure what to make of it.
I think she's like, there's a bit of frustration, like at everything, and disbelief and helplessness, because she feels that like throughout this entire trip through Aurora's Rest, she's been really struggling. And so just feeling still lost and kind of not herself, and kind of having this moment where kind of reality is there. It's like, how is she supposed to be a protector? How is she supposed to be a leader one day when she can't even figure out herself? And so I think she takes a moment just to grieve for herself and what she's, and then tries to find her chimera.
You wander inward, beginning frustrated, and as you spend more time in there, it's like the defined cave with the kind of dominion that the chimera used to have, that kind of entrapped feeling is absent. You step in, it feels more vast, open. Like there's a lot more to explore, but you are unsure of any specific direction to look towards. Give me a perception check. 25. You close your eyes and focus on your senses and the kind of the almost the blurred paint stroke environment around you, kind of just like a general white noise. Takes you a few minutes to kind of sit there and filter and look and listen and feel. And you're able to begin to pull things out that don't make sense, that are just kind of like sensory confusion. You're able to like mentally isolate those for a minute. And you see kind of over on to your left, the painting feeling becomes a bit more like almost swampish. In kind of the upper right, you see a mountain. You see a jungle.
Uh-oh.
And you see a cave. You're given a choice almost, different directions that you can go. There's something in the sound of things that feels like choices too. Almost like something is almost there. Like you're reaching into the air and trying to form a ball of compressed gases in your hand. Like you know something is possible, but you're not doing it properly. Kind of a general sense of confusion persists here. Is there anything else you would like to do?
So there's these 4 different environments she's sensing.
Yeah.
She'll head towards the jungle, I think.
Okay. You walk to the jungle, and as you make that choice and start stepping forward, take a couple of steps, and it's like you're at the crest of the edge of the forest. You look back and you just see rainforest behind you, and you're in the center. You kind of hear a whisper, kind of incoherent, just kind of like and some rustling of leaves.
I think she does a 360 in a circle, kind of trying to pinpoint it, but probably not exactly being able to. And so instead she just calls out, "Where are you?"
You hear kind of from behind you. But you look, and every time you turn your head, the sound is always behind you. I am anywhere that ferocity is needed. Even when it's subdued, waiting to pounce. The intelligence
of a hunter. Patience, timing. I am in those moments.
What has happened to you and the others?
Includes you.
What's happened to us?
Invaded. Off balance.
And how are we supposed to fix this? How do I fix it? It's you're here, the others are everywhere else.
How would you change it?
What do you mean?
If you could, what would you do?
I guess what I've always done. I'll adapt.
Adapt. What does it mean to you?
Well, right now, this whole separation thing, it's not working. I don't know how, but I'm going to bring us all together again.
And you feel the area around you relax. But only part way. You sense a soothing held back from being fully completed by a little bit of a worry, but you're not able to feel what that is. You get a bit of a kind of a purr in the environment. And you feel her presence recede.
Think taking it as like a good sign. Knowing something is going to change. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. And this was like a small step towards it. I think she pulls back to the ship.
Okay. All right. Anything else you guys want to do as a collective before you arrive in Allegory? You've got a face.
Not as a collective.
Or as individuals.
I think Dro. I'm imagining Warden's walking with Dro down to the engine room. Or did he stay in the captain's quarter?
Yeah, I think he'd probably join you.
So he would stop you for a second. Do me a favor. I'll meet you down there. I think I left something back in the captain's quarter real quick.
All right.
And make sure Yaslin hasn't broken any bones that weren't already broken.
All right.
You walk into the scene and you see Yaslin being firm. Or actually, you kind of enter the scene after Yaslin's already left. Wait, nope, that contradicts what I said earlier. It takes about 3 hours to finish the medical treatments. Yaslin is firm and sometimes often like swift and hard with like resetting a bone or something, but she seems to be doing incredibly well with it. Using exactly the right amount of force to do the work that is necessary, but also the right amount of tenderness when it is also necessary. And you walk in and you kind of see a new element. You see the Yaslin who has probably, reset her own bones or stitched a scratch from a wild beast on a companion. You see somebody who's done this many, many times. You just haven't seen much of it.
Warden will just watch.
Once Warden leaves, Dro's gonna just step right into the captain's quarter behind the door and pull out Margo's notebook. And check on the page that he wrote on.
There is no response.
How long does this take?
You wrote so bad.
I think there's a little bit of disappointment. And then he will walk down just thinking about that, but I think once he gets here and sees the scene of everything and watching Yaslin tend to people in a way he's never seen her tend to people, he's used to her punching them or hitting them or something. Instead, caring for the injured. I think Dro just watches and a soft smile on his face. And then probably a little twitch when she relocates someone's bone or something, but I think seeing this side of Yaslin is different to Dro and he likes it. There's still a part of him that's also just trying to look around and see if he could help. But knowing Yaslin is working circles around everybody else. That's it.
Okay. Warden, any final things before you start descending down into the next city?
Honestly, I'm not too worried about theft or food right now. It seems like everyone's getting tended to. Yeah, no, I think I'll just head back to the captain's chair and make sure that we arrive down smoothly.
Sounds good. As you crest kind of the final set of mountains, the snow has faded by now, and now you see deep rocky gorges and crags between the mountains, and you see what Warden points out as the Dragon Peak spires out in the distance. But between them is tall mountains with intense, deep ravines, and you begin to see a glow reach towards you. One of something that most of you haven't seen before. Excuse me, I misspoke. Dragon spine. And they are still an immense ways away, probably like still 2 days away, but you can see these mountains that reach far, far up into the sky. You also kind of pass the mountain range that is a little bit more tropical in nature, and you recognize some of the markings of the same mountains that Ripple Top is built on. You're not in the right part of the range, but Ripple Mountain is a part of this mountain range. As you kind of separate there and continue on, you see light pollution as you are coming in, probably around like 3 or 4 a.m. But it's got pinks and yellows and greens. It is a multicolored light pollution coming from it. And Warden, you see it, and you're able to show everybody kind of like the first portions of it. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, I misplaced where I put my image. Thought I just did this. There we go. And you come over the peak and you see all spiky mountains, almost like spikes jutting out of the ground, reaching up towards the sky. You've been kind of, those have been building and kind of, you've seen more and more of them over the last 3 or 4 hours. Even though it's dark, you still see an occasional silhouette against the stars. As at this point, you have finally outrun the smoke from the fires of Aurora's Rest. You come in and you notice eventually that some of those mountain tips are glowing. And as you get closer and closer, some of those mountains aren't mountains at all. They are buildings designed to mimic natural spikes from the mountain range. They're pyramidic in style. Some of them tall and thin, some of them wide and broad and reaching very high up into the sky, and some of them short and minuscule by comparison. But as you come to the city, you see a glow of neon style lighting on the plates on the side of buildings, on scripts and text, and deep between the crags, you see lowly streets running between the higher spire type buildings. And Warden, you know you have arrived in Allegory, city of hunters.
I'm going to turn to the rest of the party and go, all right, well, that was another happy landing. So, I'm going to go let everyone else know. Grab your shit now, because it might get hectic.
You know the protocols to like call in and to land in this area. You're able to do so, and we will end with the Gale kind of swinging in as there's a sheet that opens up on one of the pyramids and a vertical platform kind of spits out of it, almost like a tongue, and it's large enough that the Gale lands on it easily, and it only takes up maybe a tenth of this pyramid, even though it's one of the smaller pyramids. Tongue retracts, and you guys are once again enclosed inside of a massive hangar. Probably like a singular hangar that probably is about 3/4 of the size of the entirety of Final Fletch. This place is utterly gigantic. This is not a city of mountainous pyramids. It is a full countryside. And that is where we will end for tonight, as you guys enter into a new city.